Hello, I am Danny. I'm so happy you are here. We are on the self-love playlist doing a program called Love Yourself Like You've Never Been Loved Before. Today's day 4. We're talking about the inner critic. We started the inner critic yesterday. If you missed that video and you want to check it out, I'll put a link in the description. And so I told everybody yesterday that at the beginning of this video, I would tell you the name of my inner critic and the story behind it. So my inner critic name is Helene. And I picked Helene because a lot of times my inner critic, Helene is a beautiful name in my opinion. And it sounds kind of sophisticated, kind of elegant, kind of easy and smooth, kind of slick almost. And it also has hell in it. Helene. So my inner critic is named Helene. The reason is because my inner critic can be hurtful and critical. It can be the walking by the mirror, oh my gosh, you're fat kind of language, okay? My inner critic can be that. But my inner critic does the most damage for me in sounding almost like it's being comforting, almost sounding like the good voice, like the voice of intuition or the voice of the higher part of the self, when really it is the critic who's just trying to kind of keep me safe, keep me stuck where I am. So I can recognize that. So anyway, mine is named Helene. Please share yours in the comments. If you have named your inner critic, I would love to know. I always love hearing people's. People are can be imaginative and creative with theirs, or sometimes it's just, a person from childhood that they don't like or something and it's stuck with them. It's the name that they still don't like. Okay, so today we're going back to the inner critic. We're going to, we have already named it. We have already written down some of the things that the inner critic says to us, written it down, or just thinking of it. Okay, so now we're going to take the next step into separation from these thoughts and from the inner critic. So when the inner critic tells you something, then you have written it down. Maybe your inner critic says, you're not smart enough to do that, for example. Sometimes the inner critic will just say crazy stuff and you know it's not true, and so that stuff's easy. But as you go down your list and you think of things the inner critic says, pick something that has a big charge for you. Pick something that is really hurtful or really makes an impact for you, or you really kind of feel something when you pick it. So pick that one and just dig in a little deeper and look at, is it true? Sometimes the short answer will be yes, it is kind of true. Like, you're not smart enough to do that. Well, if it's a complex math problem, involving chaos theory or something, then the answer is quite honestly probably right. Yes, maybe it is true. But also, if you're applying for a job, or if you are tackling a project or something, then you can look and say, well, is it true? So that's the question. Is it true? Not only is it true in a general sense, or can it kind of be true in certain circumstances, we're going to turn it around and look at when it's not true. Are there any circumstances where it's not true? Well, when you first started to learn to drive a car, and you're so aware that you have to do like 6 things at one time to drive a car. Your brain has to be so engaged, and there's a lot to learn. And now you take it for granted and you drive a car every day and you do it easily. Maybe you make investments, whatever you do in your life that takes brains, that takes thought process, that shows how smart you are. Think of those examples. Bring those examples to your awareness so that the next time the inner critic says it, you kind of already have that different perspective a little bit. Another thing you can do with the inner critic is you can ask yourself, do I want to keep this thought? Okay, because here's the thing. We internalize all of this stuff and we forget that we have a choice. We forget that we have a choice on whether to believe it and whether to let it run the show, or rule the day, or decide whether we get up off the couch and do that thing, or whether we stay and eat the cupcake, or whatever it is. I'm not speaking from personal experience or anything. So that was an example straight from the Danny playbook. Okay, so there you have it. So we're going to ask ourselves, do we want to keep it? And this is just the reminder of, no, I don't choose to keep it. I don't choose to accept that one anymore. And so from there, you can be satisfied, or you can take even one more step, and you can look for another statement to replace it with, so that the next time the inner critic comes in with it, you have something to volley back. For example, I'm pretty darn smart. I do okay, or I have a degree, or I get by okay. I do pretty good in life, or I helped my kid with his homework, or whatever your comeback is. You can kind of reframe it and think of something to come back with. Again, you don't have to do this with every negative thought that you have, but what we're doing is just kind of training the brain that these thoughts are not just to be accepted, thought of as law or as truth. This is not the governing body. We will just pause for a moment and bring some awareness. Many times awareness is all that is needed, literally, to make huge changes in our lives. It just takes continual awareness, and it takes it again and again and again, because it took a long time to get that thought there, and it's been repeated a lot of times. So the neural pathways in your brain are really well worn where some of these phrases are. And so we're just going to start to break it up, and if we can associate it in a different way, or think about it in a different way right off, then it can help break up the pattern a little bit. So that's what we're doing. That's the homework for today, or for the right now in this moment. I'll put the link to the previous video in the description, also the link to the next video in the description after we release that one. And share your inner critic's name if you want, and share the share your experience if you want to. Please like the video if you like the video, and subscribe if you love the video. And if you know someone else who can use the video or use a little self-love, then share the video, please, and thank you. All right, so we will talk to you soon next week with another self-love practice.